Thank you so much, group. I think that's a great note to continue with this conversation and dig a little bit deeper now with a fireside chat on data responsibility as one of those layers with inclusive growth and inclusive AI. So I'd like to welcome to the stage our own Chief Privacy and Data Responsibility Officer from Mastercard, Caroline Louveaux, and Navrina Singh, the CEO and founder of Credo AI.
Hi, everyone. So great to see so many friends in the room. And hey, Navrina, great to see you again.
Yeah, same here, Carolyn. So good to see you. You've been world hopping, and we are going to talk more about that today.
Yeah, we both are, right?
Yes, exactly.
So Navrina, let me start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about how Credo AI is helping organizations develop governance frameworks that drive the ethical use and development of AI, but also that achieves business goals? Because we sometimes hear that there's tension between innovation on the one hand and ethics on the other. But can you share maybe a concrete example where the focus on ethics and responsibility has made a difference as an enabler and a driver for innovation?
No, absolutely. First and foremost, thank you so much, Amina, for having us. I think the conversations we are having today are so pivotal to how AI can actually bring the impact that we all are hoping it would. And before I go into this very important question, I do want to give a little bit context on Credo AI. We are a startup focused on building a software that provides oversight and accountability of your AI systems. And what that means is if you look across the entire AI lifecycle, from your data sets to models to applications, there's a lot that can go right, but there's a lot that can go wrong. So how do you very quickly, proactively figure out not only the risks within these systems, but also put in place the right guardrails so that you can actually meet the objectives that you might have? And one of the biggest problems, we've been discussing responsible AI frameworks now for 8+ years, is that to quantify and to very rigorously structure this is a very difficult challenge. And we see that defining what good looks like for organizations is very difficult because the AI alignment is all about defining what good looks like and then measuring against that. So just to give you a very concrete example, given that inclusivity was brought up in the previous panel, is when you think about systems that enterprises are using for hiring. And you will find that there's a lot of bias that's weaved into these systems. And as you are making those choices to hire for a particular role, many a times you might not recognize that you're leaving a massive population from those discussions. So the key question is there not only a set of frameworks, but measurements you can actually put in place to really evaluate that use case, in this case, hiring, and really go back down to the data sets and the model side to really figure out what is happening at each and every step so that when you're making those decisions, it happens very proactively. And we've seen over the past couple of years that organizations that are taking a very responsible AI first, governance first approach, they're able to detect these systems and challenges much quicker and actually have a more inclusive workforce because that they've put in place those checks and balances. So, it's a very interesting conversation because we don't have a moderator. We're just going to have a conversation with each other. And so think about this like as a coffee conversation that all of you are joining with Carolyn and I. So Carolyn, I know you were in Brussels last week. The reason
this week.
Oh, it was this week. Wow, we are losing track of time. So was my team. So Carolyn was in Brussels this week for a very pivotal moment. For those who've been tracking, EU AI Act went into effect on August 1st. As part of that, Mastercard has committed to what's called the EU Pact, which is a set of voluntary responsible AI practices that many of us, including Credo AI, have signed on to. And Carolyn was there representing Mastercard. And something that she and I have been discussing is there really a possibility of a regulatory framework that can provide that oversight but also enable innovation? So very curious to hear your thoughts in terms of the regulatory frameworks you're seeing emerge that actually can be an enabler for AI innovation.
Thank you so much, Navrina. That's really the $1 million question, right? And as we know, Europe is really the first again to regulate, and the world is watching. Now, to be honest, because of the pace of change in this area, I think the question is not so much whether or not we need regulation, but what type of regulation, right? So let me give you the magical three. I do think, and I'm probably a little bit biased and probably a little bit too European, but good regulation can benefit everyone, right? It can provide legal certainty, and it can boost trust in the technology. Because, hey, Navrina, would you take a plane with a peace of mind if there were no safety rules and regulation in place?
I wouldn't take any plane ever, by the way. I'm scared of flying, but jokes apart, yes.
Well, your daughter would hate it,
Yes.
let's be honest. So then the question is really, what regulation do we want? First, I think we need regulation that takes into account the existing laws, because there are already plenty of laws that address potential impacts on people and society. And so there's no need to reinvent the wheel here. Second, we want regulation that is principle-based and risk-based, right? That focuses on the real risks for people in society. It wouldn't make sense to have a regulation to regulate the use of AI to optimize your processes, for example. But it may make sense to have some guardrails when AI is being used to make decisions about people, like what you said about employment or insurance or health. These are areas that may require some guardrails. And then third, it's really, really important to have global convergence. AI does not have any borders, as we know, and so we need to have consistency as much as possible across regulatory frameworks within the country, a region, and at a global level. And that's where Mastercard and Credo AI have been really active to engage with policymakers, international organizations. First of all, to align on what do we mean by AI? What is the definition? And what are these key principles that we want to apply to AI? The last thing that we want is to have fragmentation of standards and regulatory approaches in this space. But then, hey, we shouldn't wait for laws to do the right thing. And in this room, we have many organizations, public and private sector, who are really doing the right thing, irrespective of any laws in this space. And at Mastercard, we have, as you know, we have launched our AI governance framework just a while ago, way before it was the AI hype. It's part of our commitment to responsible AI and responsible data. And at the end of the day, this is way beyond legal compliance. It has nothing to do with laws. It's really because that's what our customers expect, and that's really the way to build trust in our brand.
And if I may just underscore something you said, very important, and why summits like this are so powerful, is we are finding that because of the socio-technical nature of artificial intelligence, this is the moment in time that AI experts, data scientists can't sit in their offices and not interact with policymakers and regulators. So this is something that Mastercard and Credo AI do very collectively together, is to show up on these tables, because there's a lot of learning as well as unlearning that needs to happen across both the boundaries. And so I think, again, is regulation going to solve and provide oversight? Absolutely not. But what will is an informed view of what good looks like when you're trying to put the oversight for these systems.
Absolutely. And Navrina, tell us a little bit about, do you think there's an area that is missing in the whole conversation on AI ethics and AI responsibility?
Oh, there's lots missing. How much time do we have? But I think,
6 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oops. Well, let's try and see if I can summarize. But, we are really deep in trying to figure out what does good look like. And when you try and sort of unpack that, I would say 3 things that I think right now are critically missing. One is, even though there's been a fascinating discourse on responsible AI, what are the exact standards and what is really measurements for everything that we've discussed look like? And then there's a lot of great work happening at NIST, at ISO, and others, but that needs to happen sooner and faster because the AI capabilities are increasing so much faster than we can even keep up with. The second thing that's missing is benchmarks. So as you can imagine, we work a lot with private sector companies as well as governments. And so when you are trying to do these evaluations and tests, how do you actually compare yourself and your AI systems if you don't have these very standardized benchmarks? And that really needs to shift very quickly. And then the last thing that's missing is a very, I would say, strong audit and certification ecosystem. We right now have seen a lot of companies, unlike Mastercard, who've done this for the longest time, do a lot of ethics washing. There are amazing blog posts. There's amazing new governance structures that companies are putting in place. But as you sort of look inside the hood, you see all these measurements are missing. So what we actually need is a very strong third-party audit and certification ecosystem which will help propel this responsible AI discourse to actually actionable steps. And so given that we are coming up on time, I'm going to flip this question to you, Caroline. Like, what are you excited about in this entire future of artificial intelligence and responsible AI?
Thank you, Navrina. I'm excited about a lot of things. But you know what? I have two boys, as you know. They are turning 14. They're twins. And they are really, really worried about two things. They're worried about terrorism, and they're worried about climate change a lot. And the good news is that AI can really help address both of them. And so that's what excites me the most. And at Mastercard, you know, we have been leveraging data and AI for social impact for a long time. We have been working with cities to help them with urban planning, with responding to natural disasters like hurricanes. We've also launched an online app to help Ukrainian refugees settle in Poland. And then more recently, we have been leveraging Gen AI to test our fraud models. And we've managed to improve the accuracy and the speed of our fraud detection solutions by up to 300%. So it's a real game changer to prevent cyber criminals from stealing billion-tin fraud and to reassure my little boys. But if we want to maximize social impact, I think we have really to double down on three key initiatives. I think first we need to accelerate R&D in pets. And when I talk about pets, I don't talk about your lovely cats and dogs at home. I talk about our privacy-enhancing technologies, you know, like synthetic data, homomorphic encryption, multi-party computation. Not quite sure who came up with these names. But these technologies really enable data to be shared, to be analyzed so that we can extract the value, so maximize the impact and minimize the risks. The second area that I would like to emphasize is the need for more AI literacy in education. We need everyone to be AI ready. Of course, the policymakers and the regulators, but also our workforce and our kids, our parents. I know you're doing a great job with your daughter. And you know, I want to debunk the myth that you need to have a STEM degree to be involved in that AI conversation. You know, we need everyone, every voice matters. And then third, because of the pace of innovation here, I think we need to explore also more creative governance models that are fit for purpose. We talked about the laws, but I'm really excited about the regulatory sandboxes. You know, where companies can test and experiment with AI, with new ideas, while in a safe and controlled environment while receiving the guidance from the regulators. It has a ton of benefits, and everybody can learn from each other, and so that together we can co-create our future. So these are really three areas that, you know, that actually I think are going to help to ensure that AI benefits everyone.
Absolutely. Well, you know, this is obviously a very fascinating conversation. And when I look to the future of artificial intelligence, I truly agree that this is going to be one of the most consequential technologies that's going to shape the way we live, the way we work, the way we become and stay human. But I think what's going to be really key and a key takeaway for all of you is I think governance is going to be the enabler to this technology, and it's going to really unlock all the benefits. And more importantly, this governance is going to need a very multi-stakeholder perspective, not just the perspective of technologists, but also perspective of everybody else coming from risk, compliance, policy, climate, all these different places. And so I think, Carolyn, like that's, I hope today at the summit, if you're doing anything, that's the conversation you should be having is how can you lend your expertise to this very important space of responsible AI. So with that, thank you so much. And thank you so much, Carolyn.
Thank you, Navrina.